Welcome back to another episode of How I Cook. I'm Stephen and Frederick, and I'm glad to have you back. Today's episode, lasagna-ish. Why do I say lasagna-ish? Well, it's going to have all the flavors of lasagna with the meats and the cheeses and the pasta, but we're not going to do it with lasagna noodles. We're going to do it with pappardelle noodles. This is a little easier than lasagna, rather than having to boil and lay down and all that. This we sort of throw all together, and it still has all the wonderful flavors. So let's get started. I have a pound of ground Italian sausage here. This is sweet sausage. Can you use hot sausage? Absolutely. And I have a pound of ground beef here. It's 80-20. Can you use 90-10? Absolutely. Remember, this is how I cook. Not the right way, not the way you should do it. This is how I cook. So there's going to be a lot of meat here. There's 2 pounds of meat. And we're just going to brown this. I'm browning this first because I want it to cool down before we put it in with all the other ingredients. I have a pot of boiling water over here. Let me move it over so you can see. And to the boiling water, we're going to add salt. You always want to add salt to your boiling water when you're going to boil pasta. This is 2 tablespoons of salt into the boiling water. I can use the same spoon as the meat. It's all going to be mixed together. I have 2 packages of pappardelle noodles. Each one is a little over 8 ounces. I'm going to drop these in. They come in little bundles. It says to cook them around 8 minutes. I'll do a little under 8 minutes since we're going to be putting this with other ingredients and then baking it later. I don't want to overcook them. I have tried lasagna before with the no-bake noodles. It was okay. I thought there was a texture issue, but if you want to make regular lasagna with the no-bake noodles, go ahead, do it. I'm just trying to give some options. I'm not adding any salt, pepper, or spices to this meat as it browns. Once it's browned, I want to drain off the fat, and then we'll add some things. So we'll let this continue to brown. Now, lasagna also has a mixture of cheeses. So we're going to put the mixture of cheeses in this bowl. We're going to have ricotta cheese. I use whole milk ricotta. Can you use skim milk ricotta? Absolutely. And I'm putting 4 cups of ricotta cheese. To that, I'm going to add 2 eggs that I already beat. I like to add provolone cheese as well. This is a 1/4 pound of provolone cheese. In this case, it's 5 slices. What I like to do is cut it in half. Cut that in half. And then cut it down. Makes it much easier. It's just a nice, different flavor. I like to use mild provolone. I don't like to use smoked provolone. And it melts nicely in the mixture. So there we go, a 1/4 pound. This has a lot of cheese. Next, a half pound of grated Parmesan. That was a half a cup, not a half a pound of grated cheese. And then mozzarella cheese. This is a pound of mozzarella. We're going to use the whole pound, but we're not going to put it all in the cheese mixture. So, how do I get half a pound? I just cut it along the diagonal, like that. I'm saving half of it there. I want to show you something. This is fresh mozzarella. This is the one that comes in liquid a lot. This is delicious, especially on a mozzarella tomato salad, but this is not the right mozzarella for this type of dish. This mozzarella that comes in the block, it's drier, is the correct one for this dish. This will definitely get eaten. So, I'm cutting up this mozzarella to put them with the cheese mixture. It, like the provolone, will melt and just be part of the overall flavor. So just cut it into chunks. Like I said, they're going to melt when we bake the lasagna. Can you use already shredded mozzarella? Yes, I prefer not to. The already shredded mozzarella has something added to it. I think it's called cellulose that keeps the pieces separate. Not really necessary. And this is not that difficult to cut up mozzarella that doesn't have the cellulose. But if you want to, sure. I'm just recommending this way. Okay. So, we're mixing all this together. Let me recap. Ricotta, 4 cups. 2 beaten eggs. A quarter pound of provolone cut up. A half pound of mozzarella cut up. And a half cup of Parmesan. I think it was actually Parmesan Reggiano. All into the pool. And the pasta. Yeah, this is good. So I'm going to take the pasta off and drain it. Drain it well. I have it sitting in the sink waiting. This looks pretty good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drain off the fat off of the meat mixture. Not getting any of the fat into the draining pasta. Okay, so the browned meat has been drained. I'm now adding a can of pizza sauce. I've used this pizza sauce before and I recommend it. I like pizza sauce instead of tomato sauce or spaghetti sauce because this has far less ingredients. There's tomato, oil, and some spices. That's all that's in this can. I really like it, so I'm adding a can to the meat. And it is a 14.5 ounce can. I'm now going to mix this together. Okay, so that's all been mixed together. And now I'm going to take it off the heat. I really want it to cool because I'm going to add it to the cheese mixture and I don't want it to be too hot. Now we have all our cheeses here. And you see we have the meat and just with some pizza sauce, but we need some oomph. So here's the oomph. Here is some Italian spice mix. This is Italian spices like oregano and parsley and that sort of stuff. So we're going to add this to the cheese mixture. 1 tablespoon, like a tablespoon and a half. Some onion powder. I like onion powder, especially when I'm using garlic powder. So I'm only going to put 1 teaspoon. A little bit more. Garlic powder. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. A little salt. We don't need a lot of salt because all the cheeses have salt. And then a little pepper. And we mix all that together. That looks great. And we're back to our remaining ½ pound of mozzarella cheese. All I'm going to do is cut this into slices. They don't have to be uniform. These are going to go on top. Great, we'll just let that sit. And then I have a 1/4 cup of additional grated Parmesan Reggiano that will go on top as well. So we're back. It's about 5 minutes after I put the meat outside. Is it totally cool? No. Has it cooled down? Yes. So what I'm going to do is put the meat mixture in with the cheese mixture. So with traditional lasagna, you know, you put the noodles and then cheese and meat and noodles and cheese and meat. We're doing it all together. There we have it. Everything's mixed together. The only thing that isn't mixed together are the noodles. So, here are the noodles. I'm going to put them back in the pot that they boiled in. It's empty. And then I'm going to put the cheese and meat mixture on top. So we'll just pull up the pasta and mix it in. I have a baking dish. I'm going to spray it with some oil. And then we'll put the mixture in the dish. We may have to push it down. Not a bad problem to have. Whoop. So we'll push it down. Because what I didn't tell you is we're not cooking this tonight. I don't know if you've ever said or you've ever heard somebody say lasagna is so much better the next day. Well, we're putting this together and letting all the flavors have a party together for a day or two, and then we will bake it. So I pressed it down. I have another can of pizza sauce here. I'm going to add pizza sauce on top. We're going to spread it out. We have our 1/4 cup of Parmesan Reggiano that's been grated. And then we have all this mozzarella cheese that I cut up. And we're just going to place it on top. And when it bakes, it's going to melt and be wonderful. I said we're just going to let this sit for a day or two. Let the cheese, noodles, and meat get to know each other better. and then we'll bake it. So I'm going to put some plastic wrap on this and put it in the refrigerator. I'll see you in a few days when we're going to finish this dish. Welcome back. So I know it's only been a minute, but it actually is the next day. This has been sitting in the refrigerator. The noodles, the meat mixture, the cheese mixture, they've all been getting to know each other. It's now time to bake it. I have a preheated 350-degree oven. We're going to put it in for half an hour, but for the first half hour, we're going to cover it with silver foil, aluminum foil, whatever you call it. So let me just put this on here. Then after 30 minutes, we will take the foil off and continue to cook for 15 more minutes uncovered. This is quite heavy. In it goes. The lasagna-ish is quite a hearty meal. So after a hearty meal, you maybe just want a little something. We're going to make biscotti, an Italian biscuit. Not too heavy, something you can have with limoncello, you can have it in the morning with your coffee, and it's very easy. So it's all made in one bowl, which is really nice. And we're going to start now. We have 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a half teaspoon of regular salt, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, not baking soda, and 2/3 a cup of sugar. So I'm just going to quickly mix that together, just get the process started, and then 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. These are going to be vanilla biscotti. Next, 6 tablespoons of butter that have been sitting out. So my fingers are clean. So we want to push that down. Yep. 2 eggs. This is a very dry dough. Just going to get a spatula to scrape down the sides. Okay, so it's all mixed together. And now I'm going to start kneading it in the bowl to help it come together more. Like I said, it's a very dry dough. But you can see it is coming together. So there we have it. We want to make it into a log. Don't laugh. I'll roll it out here a little. So there we have it. I'm going to move it to a baking sheet with Silpat on it, a plastic baking sheet. If you don't have one of these, you can also use parchment. So there we have it. We're going to put this into the oven for 25 minutes. These are going to be small biscotti. You'll see what we do after 25 minutes. So there we have it. Into the second oven at 350 degrees for 25 minutes. Okay, so it's been around 30 minutes since we put the lasagna-ish in. This is so heavy. Not a bad thing. So we'll carefully take this off. So I'm going to put it back in the oven, but instead of for 15 minutes, I'm going to do a half an hour. I didn't take this out of the refrigerator and let it sit to become room temperature when I put it in the oven. So it's going to take a little bit longer. So let's put it in the oven for half an hour without the silver foil. Okay. So I'm going to take the biscotti out of the oven. Hopefully it's firmed up a little enough that we can cut it. So we're going to cut the log so it looks more like a traditional biscotti shape. Okay, so I took this out of the oven and I just lowered the temperature on the oven to 325 from 350. This is still not cooked totally, and we didn't expect it to be. That was step one. This is still quite loose. So what I'm going to do is, with the serrated knife, cut this into bars. Are they as perfect as you would get in a bakery? No. Are they going to be delicious? Yes. So let me cut these and then arrange them, and I'll be right back. We have 12 mini biscotti and then this little nubbin. They look biscotti-like. So to go along with the lasagna-ish, we'll call these biscotti-ish. I'm sure they're going to taste wonderful. Back into the oven that we lowered to 325 degrees for another half hour. Okay, so it's been about half an hour. Let's take the biscotti out first. Okay, they browned up nicely around the edges. They're holding together. That's great. I just want to loosen them off of the rubber mat. Hot. The only advice I would give is when making the log, pack it a little tighter so that when it bakes the initial time and you cut it with the serration, it maybe doesn't fall apart as much, but this is good. Great. All right, so that turned out pretty well. Now let's look at the lasagna-ish. This smells as good as it is beautiful. We need to let it sit a little because it's really hot, and if we cut it, it'll just sort of run everywhere. So we're just going to let it sit for around 10 minutes. The biscotti also need to cool. So for now, I'm going to say goodbye. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of Lasagna-ish and Biscotti-ish. They do look like biscotti. And I hope to see you next time. Take care. I'm Stephen and Frederick, and this is How I Cook.